What if I told you that 97% of the world's wealth is in the hands of less than 1% of the population? Would you believe it? The game was rigged long before you were born. While you work hard, pay your bills, and hope for a better future, they, the invisible elite, write the rules, move the pieces, and decide who wins and who loses. This isn't about politicians or celebrities. It's about a small circle of families and corporations who together control governments, banks, media, and even the fate of your financial life. They know exactly when to create a crisis and exactly how to profit from it. The financial system was never designed for you to win. It was built for you to obey, and worse, for you to never realize it. For decades, this information has been locked away, protected by invisible financial codes, secret clauses, and societies that operate in the shadows. But today, the curtain begins to fall. What you're about to hear is not for everyone. This is the truth the elite do not want you to know. It's the piece that connects every crisis, every scandal, every unwritten rule that keeps you exactly where you are. The power they hold is not just about money, it's about control. Control over your mind, control over your choices, control over what you believe is even possible. While you struggle to pay rent, they sit in private rooms deciding how to keep 97% of the world's wealth in the hands of a few. It's not luck, it's not talent, it's not coincidence, it's strategy, it's manipulation, it's the greatest financial trick in history. And what if I told you that understanding this secret is the first step to escaping the game? That by seeing what I'm about to show you today, you could begin to think the way they think, act the way they act. But be warned, what is about to be revealed cannot be unseen. Once you understand the truth behind the global financial conspiracy, nothing will ever look the same again. Now, let's open the first door. Before we step through that door, I need to tell you something important. The system we're about to expose is bigger than politics, bigger than business. It's a network built to keep ordinary people powerless. And breaking free from it isn't just about money. It's about awakening, and that awakening starts with unity. In times like these, when the forces against us seem overwhelming, we need to stand together. We need to pray for clarity, for wisdom, and for the courage to break these chains. If you believe, even for a moment, that change is possible, I want you to write your prayer in the comments right now. Share a few words, a sentence, a thought, because when voices join together, they become impossible to ignore. And while you're here, take a moment to like this video so more people can find it. That's how the message spreads. Subscribe to this channel and make sure you turn on notifications, because this is just the beginning. Every prayer you leave, every click you make is one more light in the darkness. And together we're going to keep shining until the truth reaches every corner of the world. Now, let's push forward. What if I told you that the world you think you live in is nothing more than a stage? Every headline, every market crash, every sudden rise and fall, scripted. 97% of all global wealth is concentrated in the hands of a fraction of humanity, less than 1%. That's not an accident. That's not just the way it is. It's a design crafted over centuries by an elite whose faces you will never see in public, whose names rarely appear in the news, but whose influence reaches into every law passed, every dollar printed, every word broadcast. They've built an invisible control system that operates in plain sight. The manipulated system you work, pay, and bleed for isn't broken. It's functioning exactly as intended. And while you fight to escape debt, to save for a home, to simply breathe without financial anxiety, their wealth multiplies in silence. How? Through a secret code, an unspoken set of rules passed down like a ritual, whispered in boardrooms, carved into the architecture of the economic machine. You were never free. The matrix they've constructed is elegant, precise, and cruel. It enslaves without chains, making you believe you have choices while every path is already mapped. They own the institutions that educate you, the media that informs you, the corporations that employ you, and the governments that supposedly protect you. Do you think it's a coincidence that every financial crisis leaves them richer and you poorer? Or that entire nations can collapse while their wealth remains untouched, even expanding? The hidden truth is darker than you imagine. This is spiritual warfare disguised as economics. They know how to weaponize money against the masses, turning it into both carrot and stick. They create scarcity to drive fear, then sell you the illusion of freedom if you just work harder, just comply, just sacrifice more. And the deeper you sink into their game, the more impossible escape feels. Billionaire secrets are not about working smarter or thinking bigger. They are about controlling the flow of resources, the perception of value, and the very definition of reality. They don't want you to know this, because once you see the structure of the trap, you start noticing the cracks in its walls. You start asking dangerous questions. And in their world, awareness is the first act of rebellion. Some of you are already feeling it right now, that tightening in your chest, the anger building as you realize this isn't some wild theory. This is the reason you've worked for years without getting ahead, the reason the same families, the same corporations, the same networks keep emerging at the top. Go ahead, comment, "They control everything," if you see it now. The economic power they wield is not measured in money alone, but in their ability to shape reality itself. Markets move when they whisper. Leaders obey when they call. Entire populations shift their behavior without ever realizing the source of the influence. It's a dark knowledge passed through generations, encoded in symbols, reinforced through rituals hidden in plain sight. And every second you don't see it, they grow stronger. Every moment you doubt, they win. But once you start to understand, really understand, you'll never look at a news story, a market report, or a political speech the same way again. You'll start connecting dots you didn't even know existed. You'll begin to see the invisible hands moving the world's pieces, placing you exactly where they want you. The truth is finally out, and it's only the beginning. Because the deeper we go, the more you'll realize just how far their reach extends and what they're preparing for next. Now, look closer. They told you the system was fair, that if you worked hard enough, followed the rules, and kept your head down, you'd have a chance. But the truth, buried deep beneath polished speeches and patriotic slogans, is that the game was never designed for you to win. The hidden system you live in is not broken. It's working perfectly for the ones who built it, the elite. The same names, the same families, the same unseen power shaping the world to keep themselves at the top while everyone else fights for scraps. You wake before the sun, trade your time for a paycheck, pay bills that never stop coming, and watch as the cost of living rises faster than your income. And while you fight to make it to the end of the month, they grow richer during recessions, expanding their wealth when everyone else is losing theirs. This isn't luck, it's not even skill. It's the wealth code, an unspoken rulebook passed down through generations, guarded like a sacred ritual. You were never meant to have access to it. From the outside, their world seems untouchable. Private jets, estates hidden behind miles of land, access to markets and investments you've never even heard of. But behind those gates lies something far more dangerous than luxury. Control, spiritual control. The ability to dictate not just economies, but the rhythm of your daily life, the price of your food, the interest rate on your debts, the hours you spend working instead of living. It's an economic conspiracy so vast that most people can't see it, not because it's invisible, but because it's everywhere. Like the Matrix, it surrounds you from birth, teaching you to measure your worth by how much you produce for someone else's gain. And every time you think you've found a way out, the walls close in. Loans, taxes, fees, penalties, each one another link in the financial trap. Meanwhile, the billionaire agenda moves forward without resistance. They don't just react to economic shifts, they engineer them. A market crash here, a shortage there, each one carefully timed to consolidate more wealth into fewer hands. And when the chaos hits, they're already positioned to buy what others are forced to sell. Entire companies, entire neighborhoods, entire nations, swallowed whole by those who were waiting for the fall. You might ask, why keep the majority in perpetual struggle? Because desperation is a form of control. A population buried under debt and exhaustion has no energy to resist, no clarity to question the rule. And so the same cycle continues. You work harder, they get richer. You sacrifice more, they take more. You believe you're free, while every decision has been calculated long before you make it. Even culture bends to their design. What you aspire to own, how you define success, what you think is possible, it's all shaped by a manipulated reality that keeps your attention away from the truth. They have perfected the art of distraction, feeding you conflict, entertainment, and fear in equal measure, while the real decisions happen in rooms you'll never enter. This is the wound they never let heal. A wound disguised as the economy, managed by a network that answers to no government, no nation, only itself. And every year that passes, their influence spreads deeper into the structures you depend on to survive. The cracks in this illusion are there if you know where to look. Signs that the control is not as absolute as they want you to believe, but finding those cracks and stepping through them is dangerous. Because once you see what's on the other side, you can never go back. And that's where we go next, into the places they never thought you'd look. There is a reason the same faces remain at the top, generation after generation. It isn't luck, it isn't talent. It is a code, a hidden truth so carefully protected that most will go their entire lives without even knowing it exists. This is not a code you find in books or schools. It isn't written down because words can be stolen, copied, exposed. No, this is an unspoken law passed through bloodlines, guarded by ritual, reinforced in places the public will never see. And yet, every decision they make, every empire they build, follows it with precision. The elite do not chase money, they command it. While you trade hours for a paycheck, they use invisible control to turn capital into more capital, creating wealth without lifting a finger. They understand the currents beneath the surface of the economy, the ones that move unseen while the masses fixate on the noise above. That's the real game, and you were never invited to play. The manipulated system you were born into was designed to keep you focused on survival, not strategy. You wake up every day inside a matrix built to exhaust you, to make you believe that working harder is the path to freedom, while every extra effort only tightens the chains of financial slavery. They feed you stories about merit and opportunity, while the wealth code quietly decides who will rise and who will be crushed. This code is more than financial. It is spiritual warfare disguised as economics. It teaches its initiates how to weaponize debt, how to engineer crises, how to bend markets to their will. It is the reason they profit in chaos while others drown in it. And once you start seeing the patterns, how the same hands appear behind every market collapse, every sudden surge, every unpredictable shift, you can't unsee them. You start to understand why billionaire secrets are never about invention alone, but about positioning themselves where the flow of money must pass, no matter what happens in the world. They operate through dark knowledge, principles of leverage, timing, and perception control that feel almost like sorcery to those outside their circle. They know how to create scarcity with a whisper, how to trigger panic with a headline, how to inflate value with nothing more than a nod in the right room. This is power measured not just in dollars, but in the ability to reshape reality itself. And if you've ever wondered why you seem to be playing a different game entirely, you are. The rules you were given are not the rules they follow. Imagine a vault sealed for centuries, filled not with gold, but with instructions for power. This is the inheritance they protect above all else. The wealth code is their family heirloom, their sacred script, their most guarded weapon. And they know that if too many people understood it, the entire structure of their dominance would begin to crack. That's why they keep it hidden, buried beneath layers of distraction, noise, and false narratives. You've felt the effects without knowing the cause. That promotion that never came, the investment that collapsed overnight, the debt that somehow grows faster than you can pay it down. It's all part of a design that keeps you running in place. And when you finally pause long enough to look up, you see it. The same names at the top, untouched by the storms that tear through everyone else's lives. Comment, now it makes sense, if you've started to connect the dots. The truth is, they don't want you to know this, because the moment you do, the illusion starts to fade. The invisible control they've held for centuries becomes visible, and once you see it, you can begin to challenge it. But knowing is dangerous. Every layer of this truth you uncover will lead you deeper into territory they have spent lifetimes defending. And if you think you've heard the most dangerous part, you haven't. The next piece of this code will take us further inside their world than they ever intended anyone to go. For centuries, the same hands have shaped the rise and fall of nations. The faces may change, the flags may shift, but the architects remain. The elite, operating within a hidden system so deeply embedded in our world that most mistake it for reality itself. Their true power is not measured in the currency they control, but in their ability to dictate the rules of the game. They decide what is legal, what is profitable, and what is inevitable, bending entire societies to align with their will. It is an economic conspiracy refined over generations. The wealth code they follow is not about competition, it's about orchestration. Crises are not accidents, they are engineered. A sudden collapse in markets is their signal, a calculated move that allows them to buy assets for a fraction of their worth. When others are paralyzed by fear, they are quietly collecting the pieces, consolidating power with each downturn. Every so-called economic disaster becomes a transfer of ownership from the many to the few. This is not simply about money, it is about spiritual control. The elite have learned that to dominate a people, you must shape not only their economy, but their perception of reality. Through a matrix of media influence, political manipulation, and cultural engineering, they create a manipulated reality where truth is blurred and dissent is neutralized. The billionaire agenda thrives in this fog, using it to pass laws unnoticed, secure contracts unchallenged, and expand influence unchecked. Behind closed doors, in rooms guarded by layers of secrecy, the real deals are made. Governments that appear opposed in public align in private. Corporations that claim to compete share the same unseen power at the top. Financial institutions operate not as neutral entities, but as tools, channeling resources according to plans set long before the public is aware of any need or shortage. It is a network so interconnected that pulling one thread reveals dozens more, each leading deeper into the core of their design. This design is deliberate. Keep 97% of the world's population struggling, distracted, and divided, while 3% maintain control over the flow of wealth and the mechanisms of governance. The financial trap is self-reinforcing, debts that can never be fully paid, prices that rise faster than wages, crises that reset the game in the elite's favor every time. By keeping the majority locked in survival mode, they ensure no serious challenge to their position can emerge. But their dominance extends beyond economics. It is a form of ritual, actions repeated across centuries to maintain stability within their inner circle. These rituals are not ceremonial for show. They are strategic, symbolic acts meant to remind insiders of their unity and outsiders of their exclusion. Every meeting, every signature, every handshake at the highest level carries weight, reinforcing an invisible hierarchy that governs far more than any elected official ever could. The manipulated reality they construct is designed to hide the simplicity of their plan. Control the rules, and you control the outcome. By dictating the terms of trade, the conditions of credit, and the narrative of events, they ensure that no matter how the board is rearranged, the pieces always fall in their favor. The public may see chaos, but from their vantage point, it is choreography. Still, cracks in this structure are beginning to show. Information spreads faster than it can be buried, and each revelation chips away at the illusion they have so carefully maintained. The question is no longer whether such a system exists, it is how deep it goes and what lies at its core. Because as we step closer to the center of their design, the lines between economic strategy and absolute control begin to blur. And what emerges is far more dangerous than anything we've seen so far. Now you know. You've seen how the elite bend the rules, how the hidden system funnels wealth upward until 97% of the world's riches are locked away in the hands of a fraction of a fraction. You've seen the invisible control they wield, not just over markets, but over minds. The economic conspiracy isn't a theory anymore. It's the reality you've been living in every single day, and now that you've pulled back the curtain, you can't unsee it. They want you trapped in the financial matrix, believing the only way forward is to work harder, follow the rules they wrote and hope for a reward that never comes. But you're starting to realize the truth. They've designed it so you never win. And yet, there's something they can't control. Once you understand the wealth code, once you see the billionaire agenda for what it is, you can start moving differently. You can stop playing the role they assigned you and begin operating with the same strategies they've guarded for centuries. The system is still there, but you no longer have to stand on the losing side of it. The elite are counting on your ignorance. They're counting on you to stay asleep, but you're awake now. And once you're awake, you can't go back to sleep. Imagine standing on the edge of the board they've been playing on for generations. You've been a pawn, moving only where you're told. But there's another side of the board, a side where the rules change, where the moves are deliberate, strategic, and powerful. That's where they live. That's where they multiply their wealth while the rest of the world struggles to breathe. And that's exactly where we're going next, because knowing how they control the game is only half the battle. The other half is learning how to flip the board. And the way to do that is to adopt the exact habits, the exact mindset, the exact daily actions that keep the elite on top. These aren't random tips or recycled advice. These are precise moves, repeated day after day, that create an unstoppable momentum. And the moment you start doing them, the gap between where you are and where they are begins to shrink. But here's the part they don't want you to hear. These moves are simple. Not easy, simple. They don't require luck. They don't require privilege. They require awareness, discipline, and the courage to think differently than 97% of people around you. That's why they're so powerful. They break you out of the manipulated reality and start building your own. The next step is where everything changes. In the next video, I'm going to reveal the 8 things rich people do every single day, the same 8 that have been part of the wealth code for centuries. These are the moves that quietly build empires while the rest of the world wonders how it happened. They're the daily rituals that keep billionaires in control of the game, and once you start doing them, you'll never see yourself, or the system, the same way again. This isn't just information, this is transformation. If you're ready to step off their board and play by your own rules, you cannot miss what's coming next. Because this might be the last piece you've been missing, the one that locks the whole strategy into place, the one that turns the theory into action. So here's what I want from you before we take that next step. Drop a comment with the words, "The code is almost complete," if you're ready to learn these 8 moves. Or if everything finally clicks for you after seeing how they control 97% of the wealth. Right, now I see it. Your words matter more than you think, because they prove you're no longer just an observer in this game. You're a player. Stay sharp, stay awake, and be ready, because the code is almost complete, and what comes next could change everything. If you felt the voice of God speaking to you through this message, that wasn't an accident. You were meant to hear this today, so take the next step. Subscribe to this channel right now so you don't miss what's coming. If you made it all the way to the end, let me know you're still here. Type in the comments, "I'm awake now, so I know you're part of this journey." And if you're still watching, hit that like button. It's a simple action that tells the algorithm this truth needs to be heard by more people. Most importantly, don't stop here. The next video is already waiting for you. It's appearing on your screen right now. Click it and let's go even deeper together.